Could Apple Maps really be better than Google Maps? Since the introduction of Google Maps in 2005, it's often viewed as the Maps app to use. Apple Maps is catching up, so today I want to see which Maps app is best for different use cases and if you should make the switch. I'm here in Europe on a trip, and I knew this would be the best opportunity to put these Maps apps to the test. Where I live, I drive just about everywhere, so I figured that while I'm here in Italy, I'll try as many transit options as possible. But before going out and exploring the beautiful city here, I wanted to start with the most common use case for these apps: driving. For turn-by-turn navigation, both Google Maps and Apple Maps give you a nice view of the route, current speed limit, and ETA. I find Google Maps gives more accurate ETAs and traffic. Sometimes with Apple Maps, I'll be in standstill traffic and it doesn't change the ETA, only to then start adding minutes to it later on as the ETA is approaching. Google owns Waze, so they have access to more data to accurately calculate ETAs and the most efficient route. Google Maps also has over 1 billion monthly active users, compared to Apple Maps' estimated 29 million monthly active users. So Google Maps has much more data to rely on. Both Google Maps and Apple Maps have options to avoid tolls and highways, and I find that the routes offered by these apps are pretty similar. But there's much more to Maps apps than driving navigation. One of the most important features of any Maps app is discoverability. So how do each of these apps do with discovering new local businesses? Google Maps puts discovery front and center, with buttons to find restaurants, groceries, hotels, shops, and more. Apple Maps hides these categories under the search bar, and once you select a category, the filters are quite lacking. For restaurants, Google Maps lets you filter by price, rating, hours, and what's open now, but Apple Maps only lets you filter by cuisine. The story is similar with hotels. Google Maps lets you set your check-in and check-out date and filter by price, number of guests, amenities, ratings, and more. You can price shop the same hotel across multiple sites, or you can access the hotel's direct booking link. I love using Google Maps to find a hotel because I can easily go to the hotel's website and book directly. I trust direct bookings more than third-party sites like Expedia, so I like that Google Maps offers this unique functionality to go straight to the website. Apple Maps just shows you a list of nearby hotels, but you don't get nearly as much information to help you make a decision. And for any business listing on Google Maps, you can usually find photos, reviews, accurate hours of operation, and answers to common questions. Apple Maps does have a way to submit ratings and photos, but it's not widely used. So for the most part, Apple pulls information from third parties like Yelp, TripAdvisor, and Foursquare, leading to less overall information than you'd find on Google Maps. I've also noticed that Google Maps has the superior search algorithm. Here in Italy, it's hard to find kombucha. I was craving kombucha, so I decided to search Google Maps for kombucha. To my surprise, I got several results for retailers that said they either sell kombucha or kombucha was seen there by shoppers. I picked the closest retailer to me and visited, and sure enough, they sold kombucha. I tried searching Apple Maps for kombucha, and well, it didn't give me anything useful. The Google Maps discovery features are only getting more powerful, with updates rolling out like lists of trending places, hidden gems, and an AI summary of what's important about a place. And speaking of discovery, if you're new to my channel and enjoying this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free to subscribe and click the bell, and you'll be notified when I drop new videos. Both Apple Maps and Google Maps are similar with walking directions. For walking on the streets from place to place, either will get you there efficiently. But for more complex routes like walking through malls or theme parks, Google Maps seems to handle that better. There are still times that Google Maps struggles to find the best route in complex scenarios, so I typically find myself defaulting to Apple Maps for walking directions. Apple announced support for topographic maps and custom hiking and walking routes in iOS 18, and this is a unique feature you won't find anywhere in Google Maps. Overall, I think walking directions are a toss-up, and they're about the same in Apple Maps and Google Maps. Public transit directions are where things get interesting. I've taken public transit quite a few places, and Google Maps offers more transit options beyond just trains and buses. Sometimes Google Maps has suggested that I take a scooter or e-bike to get to my destination faster than a subway or bus could. When this is suggested, the app has deep integration with providers like Lime and Dot to show you and where scooters or e-bikes are available, including the battery level, directly in the app. For simpler routes that just contain walking, buses, and trains, Apple Maps and Google Maps suggest similar routes. However, I've found Apple Maps to be inconsistent. One time it wanted me to way overshoot my destination by subway only to walk backwards, and I noticed there was a subway station that was much closer to where I needed to go. Thankfully, I was paying attention and realized that it didn't make sense, so I went to Google Maps and started the same navigation, and sure enough, it routed me to the most logical subway stop to reach the destination the soonest. Google Maps shows you the live location of your train or bus in many metro areas, and it cross-references the location of the train with your location to know whether you've boarded it or not. And if you happen to miss your connection, Google Maps will automatically update and tell you when the next train is that you can board. I also appreciate that Google Maps suggests bus options from third parties like Flixbus. This is something I've never seen in Apple Maps. So while Apple Maps is improving its public transit directions, I feel much more comfortable using Google Maps in the city. But despite everything Google Maps does better, there is one major concern about using it: privacy. Google is a data company. Every free service they provide is ultimately a way to collect as much user data as possible so they can show you targeted ads and make money. Recently, Google did announce the ability to save your location timeline on device, making cloud backup optional, and you can disable your location history entirely if you'd like. This is a huge step in the right direction for privacy in Google Maps, but I will always have some level of skepticism since Google has to collect as much user data as possible to target you with ads and make money. As far as ads go, companies can pay for sponsored pins on the map so their business will appear above other organic options. Apple takes a different approach on storing location history. Instead of having location history settings in the Maps app, Apple relies on the device's own location history settings. There is a lot of gray area here. Apple doesn't say exactly which details they save or how long they store them on their servers, but you can disable location history entirely on the whole device. Since Apple makes their money selling hardware and subscriptions instead of ads, it's a lot easier for me to trust them with my personal data, but I still wish Apple was more transparent about what they're doing with my data and how long they're storing it. So in the end, is Apple Maps or Google Maps better? Well, I think it comes down to your lifestyle and which transit options you use most. Apple Maps is excellent for driving and walking navigation, and it works flawlessly with the Apple ecosystem, especially if you have an Apple Watch. I love getting taps on my wrist when it's time to turn, or being able to glance at my watch and see where I'm walking in the city instead of having to hold my phone. I also feel more comfortable trusting my data to Apple, so I don't have the same privacy concerns about Apple Maps that I do with Google Maps. However, if you live in the city and rely on public transit, Google Maps has more transit options and more efficient routes. Google Maps is also the undisputed winner for discoverability. It's tougher to find new restaurants or research hotels on Apple Maps, but Google Maps makes it effortless. So personally, I use both apps. I typically find myself driving where I need to go, so I use Apple Maps for my daily navigation. When I'm in the city taking public transit back home or here in Italy, or when I'm researching new businesses, I turn to Google Maps. It's a far better experience, and I'm shocked that Apple hasn't caught up with their discoverability features yet. I'm sticking with Apple Maps when I can for privacy reasons, and if you're curious about how iOS and Android compare with privacy and security, check out this video here.